Hello everybody, this is Lara from Pure Elliott Wave with your once a week, it's going to be once a week now unless I have loads of energy, which isn't happening at the moment, once a week video for Bitcoin. And I don't have a lot of energy left today. I've been up on that mountain again, I'm learning to snowboard and oh my goodness. I'm a surfer, so I'm used to using a lot of energy, but snowboarding is a whole new level of really difficult in different body parts. So I'm exhausted. So just Bitcoin, because that's all I have the energy for. Price found resistance and had a bit of a struggle breaking through 100,000. It managed it, but it wasn't able to stay above. We're having a little consolidation, I expect, within the ongoing upward trend. There is so very obviously an upward trend at the weekly time frame, characterized by a series of higher highs and a series of higher lows. At the weekly time frame, I'd say this would be the last highest low within that basic pattern. So as long as price stays above 49,202.81, the larger upward trend, the larger secular bull market I expect is still underway. I expect we're going to find decent support here, about 92,000, a little bit of work to do to relieve short-term extreme conditions before the larger upward trend is ready to continue. Volume was very strongly pushing price higher up to last highs, a little bit of a decline for the very short term, a little bit of exhaustion in upward movement, so a little bit of a pause before it's ready to continue, I think. No new range, no new signal from on-balance volume, but it is making new highs with price, so that is bullish. ADX at the weekly time frame is still increasing, telling us that yes, there is indeed an upward trend, and it is a long way before this trend reaches extreme. This trend at the weekly time frame can reach very extreme for Bitcoin, and it can remain there for a reasonable while price travels a considerable distance. This is a very extreme market. You've got to allow for conditions to be able to reach very extreme according to these indicators. RSI is overbought. I don't see any short-term divergence. You've got to wait for pivots, like a pivot here and here to indicate divergence and a trend change, and here at the end of the last big bullish run before the last shorter bear market. We had this short-term bearish divergence at the weekly after RSI had reached very deeply overbought, and that was followed by a bear market. We don't have that situation here, and RSI is not as overbought as it can get. It can get really deeply overbought and remain there for a while and then exhibit single or even multiple bearish divergence before the bull market turns into a bear market. That is not the situation yet. This look from RSI here is still very bullish. Money flow, same deal as RSI. I add this in because it has a volume component to its calculation, so it adds a little bit more depth. Sometimes you don't see divergence on RSI, yet you do have a trend change, and in those instances sometimes money flow can be a little bit more sensitive and can show you that divergence leading into a bearish move. We do not have a couple of pivots that we can use to identify any divergence yet, and money flow is not as overbought as it can get. ATR is still showing an increase. Even with this little consolidation, there is still volatility to the upside. Volatility favors bullish movement. This is very bullish for Bitcoin. This is exactly what I would expect to see at this point in the bull run and at this point in my Elliott Wave count. Technicals on the daily. I've got this best fit channel. Let's see, how have I drawn it? I've drawn it from the high of 19th of September to the high of 22nd of November, and I've pulled a parallel copy down to sit on the 4th of November low, and it's just shown where this current session has found support around 92,000. There's good support down there. So we have this little consolidation now with an upward bias, still higher highs and still higher lows until today, a slightly lower low, but this is not a major low. This is a very short-term low for the 10th of December, as is the 5th of December. So even if we saw this low back here on the 26th of November broken, we would still have that larger secular bullish run. Remember, it's the 5th of August. That's the one that needs to be broken in order for me to turn bearish. Until that happens, I will be bullish. Well, unless we see a complete Elliott Wave count, there's quite a way to go before that happens. Finding support now at 92,000 and at the lower edge of this best fit channel. The moving average situation, the short is above the mid, which is above the long, prices above the mid and the long, which is the most important, and below the short, as it does from time to time. We had a golden cross back here as the purple 50-day moving average crossed above the green 200-day moving average, and that's been followed by upward movement. The moving average situation is still strongly bullish. I expect we're probably going to see strong support holding here at 92,000. It's only 10 to 11 a.m. in New York, and my candlesticks are based on Eastern Standard Time. So far, we've got a really bullish long lower wick, but there's quite a lot more of this session to go, so we can't really draw a conclusion. But if we do continue to see a very bullish long lower wick finding support at 92,000 and the lower edge of this channel, I would expect that this little pullback here for this session is complete. We've got some pretty bearish candlestick patterns along the way. We've got a bearish engulfing pattern here, did not lead to anything apart from a little bit of sideways movement. Another little one, much weaker though, led to a short-term pullback followed by a bullish engulfing pattern here. A bearish engulfing pattern here only led to the next day being slightly lower, and then upward movement just resumed. So just because we're seeing an evening doji start in these three candlesticks here does not mean we have to have the end of the bullish run. It could just be indicating the following two downward sessions of a little relatively short-term pullback. This is the problem with candlestick patterns. They are fantastic and I rely heavily on them, but you've got to put them in context, because a reversal pattern doesn't tell you one of two things. It doesn't tell you what direction the next trend is going to be, and it doesn't tell you how long it's going to last. When I say direction, you have to understand there are three directions for price. There is up, there is down, and there is sideways. So a bearish reversal pattern doesn't tell you if the next direction is going to be down or sideways, and it doesn't tell you how long it's going to last. So it could just be telling you that you're going to get a little bit of sideways movement. Like this bearish engulfing pattern here was just followed by a little bit of sideways movement, a brief consolidation, and not even a sharp deep pullback. Or it could tell you you're going to get a deep pullback or a 180-degree trend change from bull to bear. So putting it into context, let's do that now. There was an upward trend. It did reach very extreme above both DX lines and above 45. The ADX line though is now well below 45. It's not below both the DX lines though. Now we could have a more time-consuming consolidation to relieve this short-term extreme condition, but it's only just reached short-term extreme here. If you look back at Bitcoin's strong bullish runs at the daily time frame, this is how it looks relatively early on, and it'll reach it again and again and again on the way up. So I would want to be looking at the context of the weekly time frame for a larger bearish movement. For the short term though, the context of that evening doji star says that we may get a little bit more of a consolidation or a pullback before the bull run is ready to resume. RSI reached deeply overbought and it exhibited double bearish divergence. We've had a little bit of consolidation since then, and now today RSI is just below 50. So the consolidation has now relieved extreme conditions with RSI. The stage is now again set for the next bullish run. So the follow through from this bearishness could have been completed. Likewise with money flow, single bearish divergence after it reached overbought. Money flow above 50, this one doesn't have to get below 50. It doesn't tend to be as extreme. RSI below 50 today, that's really good. Money flow still well in neutral territory. So the stage is again set now for the resumption of a bullish run, except it would probably be a good thing if it continued a little bit further to bring ADX down a little bit further, preferably below both DX lines, but we may not get that. And finally, looking at volume, for the short term, we've had some pushes on bearish candlesticks. But the push on this candlestick, which is this one, this is a high wave candlestick, a small body and a nearly even upper and lower wick. The candlestick is red, but we can't tell without looking at the hourly time bars if the session was dominated by up or down volume. So I can't draw a conclusion on that. I can say though, for the very short term, there is a little bit of push from volume for downward movement. Now here's one of the problems. When Bitcoin finds a low, it tends to do so on strong volume. So increasing volume could be the middle of a bearish movement. It could also be the end of a bearish movement. It's impossible for me to tell you which of those two scenarios is unfolding. What I can tell you though is that on balance volume has a really nice range with some reasonable technical significance. If we get a break above resistance or below support, that would provide a bullish signal or a bearish signal. The support line has a bit of a slope. It's only got 2, maybe 3 tests if we count this one back here. So that would provide a reasonable bearish signal because these lines are now reasonably long held. However, they are diverging, so we might not get a signal from this range. That's it for me today with a quick update for Bitcoin for you. I hope you're all looking forward to a lovely Christmas. Here in Andorra, there's a fair bit of snow around, obviously. That's why I'm snowboarding. And it looks like we're going to have a white Christmas, the first in my entire life. I'm from New Zealand, and in New Zealand, Christmas is toward the middle of summer, so it's really warm. I'm used to going to the beach and having a swim after Christmas and hoping I don't drown due to all of the turkey consumption, but I've never had a white Christmas, so I'm not quite sure that's going to be like, but I think it's going to be pretty magical, and I hope you're all looking forward to a wonderful Christmas as well.